And to add to my previous video about my relationship with sadness, um, so for a long chunk of my life, I had deemed sadness as a burden. I felt like I was a burden, like me being an extension of sadness, that like I was burdened and sadness was a burden. And the more I sat with sadness, especially after, I mean, before plant medicine as well, but especially afterwards, my capacity for feeling sad, sitting with sadness, increased. And the more I could allow this emotion into my life. And whenever I feel sadness, I would ask, like, oh, why are you feeling sad? Why is this sad? And it would tell me. Or like, what would you have preferred? Or, like I would get into dialogue with sadness. And it would tell me. The more accepting I became of myself, the more honest these emotions could speak to me, and the more I could accept whatever was coming up. But what I want to highlight is that the more I allowed sadness to be felt and experienced in my life, then the less I felt like a burden, and the less sadness felt like a burden. And in a sense, it's kind of like parallel with each other. The more I became compassionate to myself, the more I was feeling like a burden for existing. And the more I was loving myself, the more love that sadness felt, and the less burden it was feeling. So it was like, with love, sadness and it's like we were both feeling less like a burden and feeling more loved and accepted just as we were. And this goes for like anger as well. Anger, frustrations, because I suppressed anger for a big part of my life, and I suppressed, like, this would be my pattern, something would upset me, I would suppress because I'm not allowed to feel that or express that, because if I express them, that means I'm a burden, and I don't want to be a burden. If I'm a burden, then my parents are going to leave me, my mom's going to leave me, I'm going to be too much, and I wouldn't be safe, I wouldn't have a place to stay, I won't be alive, I would die. So I suppress, I avoid. But as I allowed myself to feel anger, to accept anger, then, like, it became a normal part of my life, just like sadness. And it could come up and be seen and felt, heard, just the way it was. And I would accept it. So this relationship with anger was also improving and changing. The dynamic with anger was changing as my dynamic with myself changed. With love, with unconditional love and acceptance. And also, I think one thing that kept me from feeling so much, feeling or allowing sadness and anger in my life, was that I didn't want to be seen as an angry person. I didn't want to be seen as a sad person. I didn't accept that. And I thought that if I accept sadness and anger, and if that became a normal part of my life, then I would be seen as a angry or sad person. But actually, from experiencing life after developing a healthier relationship with sadness and anger, it's not like I'm sad and angry every day. They don't happen in the frequency that I expected it would be. Like, I thought my life would be colored, would be painted by anger and sadness, but it's not. Like, I do experience sadness and anger in my life, but it doesn't overshadow other emotions, and it's not the only experience I have in life. So I think if you're someone who's like afraid to embrace anger or to feel anger or sadness more or anything, any emotion that you um, avoid or suppress, maybe, I don't know, like ask yourself if there's a fear of being seen as a insert emotion person, because I think my desire was to be seen as this joyful and happy person all the time. And I'm naturally very like joyful and loving, and I thought that experiencing sadness and anger would be the opposite of that. And I didn't accept myself to be seen as a sad and angry person. But like I sat with that and I was like, feeling sadness and anger doesn't make me a sad or angry person. And also too, like, yes, I feel joy very often. Yes, I feel love very often, like connected to love, but it's not like one's better than the other and like the other is worse than the other. So there's a lot of judgment there that I needed to explore and I got to explore. And still experiencing sadness and anger and, like everything in between. I mentioned those too because they're emotions that like dominant emotions that I suppressed. Even though I experienced those, I still consider myself a very joyful person. So, yeah. There's also a message about like, mm, like joy, like one emotion not contradicting the other and, coexisting. Like emotions can coexist within you to make up who you are. Your natural energy and your natural character. Yeah, and like, so facing that fear, discovering and facing that fear of like, oh, I don't want to be seen as a sad person. I don't want to be seen as an angry person. But like, it's not really about what other people think. It's really about what I think about myself. So once I could really let go of that judgment and stop seeing myself as a sad person or as an angry person, then I felt less of a need to push sadness and anger away, on top of like, yeah, my past experiences, healing my past experiences, the roots of why I started suppressing sadness and anger away. And as an adult, I had opportunities to express, to feel, and then to express sadness and anger to my family. And I wasn't rejected. I wasn't unloved. I was actually more accepted. And so it was really interesting, kind of trippy for me to first do the inner work, to explore myself and the roots of why I suppress and my relationship to certain emotions and why I am the way I am and why I act the way I act. And then to, in the outside world, to do something uncomfortable, which was to show emotion, like my true emotions and feelings and thoughts. And then be accepted. I felt less scared in the outside world, more accepted, and that the world is a more accepting place and safer place than I had made myself believe. But in doing this, I think it's first important to really get safer and safer within yourself, because that creates this sort of foundation and trust within you that's stable and strong before you express to the outside. Like, without a stable foundation, which you can build within you, you can be just waiting for other people to accept you without accepting yourself first. So you want to make sure that you accept yourself first before trying out something new. Yeah. So I hope there was something in this video for you. If you have any questions or comments, as always, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and take whatever resonates with you, and you don't have to force. If something doesn't resonate with you, or if nothing resonates with you, you don't have to force this message onto you. I'm just sharing my experiences. So thank you for being here, and I'll see you soon.